All right. How's everyone doing? Welcome back to another presentation by United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. So, tonight was supposed to be our first session back on the observatory grounds in Hope, New Jersey, Jenny Jump State Park at our observatory. Unfortunately, we did have some thunderstorms rolling through, and in the mindset of keeping everyone safe, we decided we were going to go virtual only today. So we should actually be back on schedule as of next Saturday at the observatory. With that in mind, welcome everyone. If you ever want to find out more about us, you can always visit our website, uacnj.org. It's where you're going to find a list of all our member clubs, resources, what types of telescopes we have, and ways to support us because we are a nonprofit who offer these free public programs to share our love of astronomy and be able to, connect people with those resources for the hobby. Now, tonight's presentation is going to be What's Up in the April Sky with Lonny Buinis. We are live streaming this, like I said, on YouTube and Twitch. And if you happen to join us in the middle, don't worry, you can always go back and find us on our archive videos on YouTube. So you can always ask any questions and whatnot there. So with that in mind, Lonny Buinis has been presenting What's Up in the Sky at UACNJ since it opened in 1994. He's been an amateur astronomer since age 10 and still has his first telescope. He holds 2 degrees from Stevens Institute of Technology in Physics and Computer Science, but thinks practical experience actually far outweighs, the book learning. Lonny has written his interactive astronomical history book, Space History Mysteries Solved, which contains 2 movies narrated by Jan Buinis, his wife, which is the. Sorry, my tongue got ahead of my eye teeth. Couldn't see where I was speaking there. The smartest thing he has ever done was to marry his narrator because she does keep his feet on the ground while his head is high in those clouds. And with that, here's Lonny to give us another wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much, Kim. I'm grateful to the UACNJ, and especially tonight, Kim, Chris, and Jeff for making this technically possible. There's a lot of technology going on behind the scenes. Well, we're going to be talking about what you can see in the April sky. We do this every month because the Earth, as it revolves around the sun, is going to be looking in a different direction when you're looking out at night by a change of 1 month or 30 degrees. So there's always going to be something new to see. I've got a picture right here of what you can expect to see in a typical April evening, which is pretty much nothing. And with that, thank you very much. It's been great having you tonight. This is what we're going to see mostly in the April sky. So long. Oh, wait, no, we're not done yet. I am going to be doing a few April Fool's jokes today, see if you can find any errors. When you come to visit, and I hope you will do that May through October, when we're open for visitors every Saturday, we will show you this bit of information, which will be our way of asking you to come and visit us, see the museum, maybe make a contribution. Everything's done with volunteer work. We're all volunteers. We don't do this for money. We do it for love. Now, to get started, I like to use a website. I'll be referring to some websites tonight, so I'm sure all of you are out there busy taking notes. Does anybody still use one of these? Pen, paper, markers? No, probably not. But if you want to take some notes, you can. I'll be giving you some references at the very end. But check out go-astronomy.com. Go-astronomy. Click on their observing and astronomy events links, and then the calendar. And then you get a calendar for the whole year. I'm focusing on this month, April, and it looks like this. We've got a couple of phases of the moon that are important, and that's what I'm going to start with. Now, if you want to see faint objects in the sky, nebulae or nebulas, pick your plural. That's a plural for a gas cloud that will eventually form stars and planets. You can see them not ever when the moon is full. It's the absolute worst time to see faint objects. So forget about April 6th or any time close to that. What you want to do is look when the moon is close in the sky to the sun. Is it close in distance? No, because the moon, although it looks the same size as the sun, it's 400 times smaller and 400 times closer. So they look the same size, but they're very different in size. The sun is 100 times bigger than the Earth. The moon is a quarter the size of the Earth. It all balances out. So the best time when the moon is new will be around April 20th, late in the month. So let's focus on the moon first. Check out moongiant.com. Great place to get information about the moon, the history, current calendar, and they'll alert you when the moon is going to be full next. They give you the exact time. You can see all the phases, the main phases of the moon here, 6, 13, 20, and 27. Now, this is very unusual this month in that the major phases of the moon, the full moon, the quarters, and the new moon, all line up on a Thursday. Amazing. I have not seen this since I've been looking at moongiant.com, the calendar. So what's so important about these phases? Well, full moon, terrible time to see faint objects. New moon is great. If you like to get up early in the morning as the sun is rising, you will see the last quarter moon, but very few of us will be doing that. The best time to observe details on the lunar surface, when the sun comes in at a raking angle, 90 degrees, we see a quarter moon, first quarter, as the sun sets. So it's a great time to get those telescopes out. Even a pair of binoculars, you might be able to see some of the details on the terminator, the boundary between light and dark. Now, why isn't it called a half moon? Half of it's lit up, right? Why do we call this the first quarter moon? Well, there's another side to the moon that we never see, because as the moon revolves around the Earth every 27 and a third days, it also spins on its axis the same amount of time. And so it's keeping one face to the Earth at all times. We never see the other side. It's not dark. It's not the dark side of the moon. It's the other side of the moon. And it gets light. Half of it is lit up too. We just don't see that other side half. So, first quarter moon. Check out the calendars. You can print them, memorize those phases. There'll be a test later. Moon names. There are a lot of poetic names. An old reference, Beard, on Wikipedia comes from 1918, and he based information on Native American names. Back then, they called them Indians. We don't do that anymore. But according to Beard, the Indians' moons occurred in different names, different cultures, different parts of the country, depending on tribes, depending on history. One of the more popular names comes from the Farmer's Almanac, and that's because this time of the year, the moss pink blooms. They look like these pictures that I found, and they therefore call this the full pink moon. But it's got other poetic names like fish and frog moon, and you can imagine why. Beginning of spring, a lot of this stuff happens. Sprouting grass, awakening moon, those are the longer titles. Short one, ducks, sap. Take your pick your favorite. In between the full and new moon, we've got a planet, Mercury, its greatest angular distance. We measure everything in the sky in angle, right? So to get an idea of angle, that's measured in degrees. Take your fist, hold it out at arm's length, and doesn't matter what size you are, this generally has about an angle of about 5 degrees in the sky, very roughly, which is about 10 times the size of the full moon or the sun. So we use angles. And if you want to see our innermost planet, the one that's difficult to find because it moves so quickly, once around the sun, not in 365 days, but 88 days. So I would be about 400 years old on Mercury, measured in Mercury years. Then if you want to see it, you want to go out at night, not early in the morning, when the sun is setting in the west. East is in the opposite direction. So you're going to be looking to the left of the setting sun. So if the sun is here, see if I can do this properly in reverse. Look up eastward or left of the sun as the sun sets, or as soon as it gets dark, for the innermost planet, Mercury. And we're going to do that in just a few minutes in a computer simulation that you can get for free. Elongation, greatest elongation, best time to see the small and innermost of the major planets, Mercury, April 11th. There's also an eclipse happening on the 20th. I know everybody likes to keep track of when the sun is blocked by the moon or when the moon enters the Earth's shadow. But this solar eclipse, when the moon passes in front of the sun, is unfortunately on the other side of the world. We're not going to see it. What makes it unusual is that it's called a hybrid eclipse. Some people will see a partial eclipse, kind of like Pac-Man. Does anybody still know what Pac-Man is? An ancient video game. Ancient, anything older than 20 years is ancient, correct? Yeah, time of the dinosaurs. So the sun looks like it's half eaten as the moon partially covers it. But an annular eclipse is very interesting. That's where the moon covers the sun, but leaves a little ring of sunlight at the maximum phase. So that it looks like the sun is a thin ring of bright light. Still dangerous to look at. Don't do it. Not with your unaided eye, not with your unshielded eye. An annular eclipse, why does that happen? Why doesn't the moon always completely cover the sun? Because the moon's orbit around the Earth is not a circle. It's squashed a little bit, not really visible. You couldn't see it if you drew it, but it's just enough to make the moon either further or closer to us. And when the moon is a little bit further as it covers the sun, it's not quite big enough. It leaves an annulus, a ring, annulus, a ring of fire, annular eclipse. I have never seen either an annular or total eclipse of the sun. I'm looking forward to one that's coming through the United States from Texas through Maine and into Canada in 2024, April. So forget about the hybrid solar eclipse. Check out the Lyrid meteor shower coming from the constellation, you guessed it, Lyra. April 22nd and 23rd is the maximum, but there is a curve where you can see meteors on either side of that date. The Lyrids or Lyrid meteor showers seem to radiate from a point near the constellation of the Harp, the Lyre, Lyre, Lyra, with the bright star Vega, which, by the way, is going to be our pole star very soon. Polaris in the Big Dipper will no longer be our pole star because the Earth wobbles and the pole shifts position. So very shortly, we'll have a nice bright star, Vega, in the year 10,000 AD. Stick around. April 16th through 25th is the time you can see the Lyrids or Lyrids, but the best time, as I mentioned before, is the night of the 22nd into midnight, into the next day. This comes from debris from a long period comet, the shortest long period comet. It's a bit of a paradox, a short, long comet. What does that mean? Well, long period comets range up to 10,000 years to orbit the sun once. This one is only 415 years, so it'll come back again. It's been reported since 687 BC, making it a record breaker, the longest observed long period comet. Now, a comet like the one you've heard about, Halley's, which I saw in 1984, and some of you will see in 2061, that's a 75 or 76 year orbit, short period comet. Not short in human lifetimes, but short for comets. The disappointing thing about this shower is that it's a minor shower. On average, 18 bright meteors per hour, but you need a very dark sky like the ones at UACNJ or Jenny Jump in Hope. Or if you have a nice dark site somewhere in Pennsylvania, upstate New York, other state forests in New Jersey, you do need a nice dark sky. In 1922 and 82, there were 90 meteors per hour, and way back in 1803, 700, because once in a while, as the Earth passes through the old debris track of the comet, it hits a knot where there's more debris, and then you see a tremendous shower. This happened with the Leonids back about 15 years ago, and we at UACNJ were lucky enough to see a meteor every few seconds. It's extraordinary. What are you really going to see? If you live in an area like I do, the suburbs, a lot of stray light from cities, you might see one, a few per hour if you're careful. But try. You're not going to see any if you don't try. And the point is, go out there, use that sophisticated equipment that'll cost you, oh my goodness, I don't know how much it's going to cost. It's this, your naked eye, and get yourself a nice lawn chair and some bug spray later on in the season. You probably won't need it in April. That's it. That's all you need. Because meteors spread out through the whole sky, radiating out from the direction from the east, where lava will be rising all over the sky, radiating out. Now, why do they seem to come from a point? Because they're really on a parallel track. But as you know from experience, for those of us who are foolish enough to walk the railroad tracks for exercise, or if you've been driving on the Garden State Parkway with those extremely narrow, annoying lane dividers, the painted lines, they tend to meet in the distance into a point. So it's an effective perspective. The meteors are in a straight path, but they seem to radiate out from the radiant. Every meteor shower has this. And I'll be talking about a really bright one in August, the Perseids in, you guessed it, what's up in the, right, I'm waiting to listen, but of course I can't hear you. What's up in the August sky? Come on back for that one. Let's get serious. What's up in the April sky? Let's find out. By the way, this is my dog, and these are eye-wearing binoculars that my wife was nice enough to get me for my birthday. No animals were harmed in the testing of this device. I'm going to use a program called Stellarium that simulates the night sky on your desktop or on a mobile device. Or you can just go online and use their supercomputers. Stellarium, it's free. It's always been free since they started in version 0.7. Don't ask me why it's 0.7. We finally, just this year, they got to version 1. I've been through every version from 0.14 to 0.23. Finally, they went to 1, and then they jumped to this version, 23. How'd they go from 1 to 23? I don't know. That's new math to me. So what you want to do to get oriented, I like to start in the north. I like to go out and look for the letter N, the red letter N, down low, get yourself a red letter N. You can't go wrong. Or get yourself a compass. Or turn on the red letter N in Stellarium. You can turn that off, by the way, the cardinal points, to make it more challenging. You can always find north by looking for the Big Dipper, the Big Dipper. And if I zoom out a little bit, the way you would see the stars on a star chart, like the shameless promotion, the ones we sell at UACNJ gift shop, it's going to look like a circle like this. And the stars will be distorted toward the edges. But never fear, on a computer, you can do this. You can zoom in. You can find the familiar Big Dipper, which is pretty big, pretty wide an angle in the real sky, right? Squished flat on a piece of paper or a star chart, right? Can you recognize it? 7 stars? No. Actually, if you look carefully in the bend of the handle, see it? There's an A star next to Mizar. It's called Alcor, and it is a part of a visual double. Wait, what's this? Starlink. You're going to see thousands of these. What's Starlink? Starlink is an artificial satellite. And I'm going to, whoops, I'm going to turn off. No, that's not right. I want to turn the amount of information down to short. That's better. A lot of professional astronomers are a little upset, even though they painted all of these satellites dark in color. They still interfere with professional astronomers' observations. And we're only going to get more of them. So I guess we have to live in a new era where the sky will be littered by many tens to hundreds of thousands of satellites. But the bonus is we get cheap, well, ubiquitous internet. Ubiquitous, a word to look up. 7 stars in the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper will help us find other things in the sky by a technique that we amateur astronomers at Jenny Jump like to call star hopping. Take that distance apart, 5 degrees of angle, right? Remember, 5 degrees, 1 fist width at arm's length, and go 5 times their distance apart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll come very close to Polaris, the pole star, because as the Earth rotates on its axis, the imaginary line between North and South poles is the axis, points somewhere in the sky. It points right here, close to Polaris. Right now, do they have a South Star in the Southern Hemisphere, Australia, Africa, Antarctica? Do they have a South Star? Do they have a South Dipper? No. They have satellites too. Very annoying. That's a NOS, whatever a NOS is. Can we make this a little bit easier? Yes, we can cheat and turn on constellation lines to make things a little more recognizable. Notice that the Big Dipper points to Polaris and a Small Dipper, which is called, just take a wild guess. Go ahead. I'll wait. Yeah, did somebody say Little Dipper? Or Ursa Minor? Alpha Umi. Astronomers like to abbreviate everything with 3 letters. Ursa Minor. Alpha, the brightest star, goes by the Greek alphabet. The first brightest star, the second brightest star, Beta. This isn't always true. Sometimes they get the order wrong on star charts. Astronomical history is fascinating. Check it out. So we've got the Small Bear, and then this must be the Big Bear. And this time of year, if you face due north, the Big Bear is upside down. The Big Dipper is pouring water into the Little Dipper. And it looks just like a bear, right? We can also add artwork of different cultures in Stellarium. There's dozens of different ways of looking at the sky. They've even redrawn the stars differently for some of them, depending on the culture. So, Big Dipper, if we keep going past the North Star, we'll come to Cepheus, the house-shaped star is actually Cepheus the king. The queen is the letter W or M on its side this time of year. What time are we looking? Right down here, 2023. That's the current time. 2023, military time. How do you convert that to AM, PM? 23, 2023, 20 minus 12 is? Mathematicians? I have a friend who's really annoyed when they say do the math and it's just arithmetic. 20 minus 12, that's not math, that's arithmetic. It's 8:23 at night. You're going to see the Big Dipper high, Cepheus low, Cassiopeia up. And these stars, Big Bear, Little Bear, King, Queen, and Draco, the dragon, you'll see them all night long. They do not rise or set. They just circle the pole endlessly. They're even up during the day. Can you see them during the day? No, sunlight gets in the way. That's the nearest star, the sun. So a good way to get started with a star chart is to learn the stars of north, and then you'll know where the other directions are. Now, my philosophy for tonight is I'm going to work my way from west to east. Facing south, that means I'll be going from right to left. Why? In fact, why should we do this at all? Why do we bother to look at the sky? Don't we have enough problems here on the Earth that we should be paying attention to? Why do we spend all that money sending spaceships up into space? It's a waste, isn't it? Why do we spend billions of dollars on beer and video games and entertainment and music? Well, think about that. We can enrich ourselves by expanding our minds looking at the universe. The universe is big. We're small, but we are uniquely situated to appreciate the very biggest and the very smallest things in the universe. Because on a logarithmic exponential scale, if you multiply it by 10 going up or divide by 10 going down, we're just about exactly halfway in between the biggest things in the universe, which are supercluster vacuoles, supercluster holes, voids, and strings of superclusters of galaxies, right on down to the smallest things we can measure, the proton. There's a recent article that shows there's two different sizes depending on how you measure the proton. 10 to the minus 15th of a meter. So small we have to use big exponents. Unimaginably small. And we are right in between. So when we expand our minds by looking for things like planets, Mars, Venus, and realize that these are light minutes away from us, the stars light years away. In fact, let's see how far away some of these things are. I'm going to turn on information. Oops. No, I don't want that. Sorry. I'm going to turn on the distance just to give you an appreciation of how far some of these things are. The sun is so far from us, it takes like 8 1/3 minutes to get to us. So if the sun turned off magically for any reason, we wouldn't know about it for more than 8 minutes. This star, the second brightest star in the whole sky, the winter dog star Sirius, is 8.6 light years away. Light years. 8 minutes is about 480, about 500 seconds away from us by light. A year is 31 million seconds. Multiplied by 8.6. Arithmeticians in the audience, divide that by 500. You've got the difference between the sun and the nearest of the brightest of the stars to us. The nearest star is a little better than that, not 8 light years, but 4. And that we can't see from New Jersey, Alpha Centauri. The winter stars are still here in the west. So I like to look in the west because everything sets in the west with the sun, right? As the Earth rotates to the east, the sky seems to go the opposite direction from facing south, left to right, east to west. So as you're observing the sky, get out there early, look for the brilliant planet Venus, brightest of the planets, very close to us, second from the sun after Mercury. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to note my field of view down here, 2 degrees. 1 degree is about the field of an astronomical telescope, twice the size of the full moon in angle. And look, I still can't see the phase of Venus. I have to get in even closer. In a small telescope with a field of view of 1/5 of a degree, I would see a gibbous phase, gibbous, not gibbon, right? That's an ape. Gibbous, gibbous phase, like we see the moon sometimes. You cannot see surface features on Venus with an astronomical telescope like the ones at Jenny Jump when you visit. This is infrared features. You're probably not going to see anything except a featureless disk. Thick clouds cover Venus. It's a runaway greenhouse. If you went to Venus, by the way, on the surface, you wouldn't last too long. NASA's planning to send a mechanical space probe driven by springs to the planet Venus sometime this decade. Because when you send electronics, conventional space probes, 3 things happen to them, same things that would happen to you. They get crushed by the 90 atmosphere pressure, they get burned up, melted by the 900 degrees heat, and they get fried, dissolved by the sulfuric acid in the atmosphere. That's what would happen to you if you went to Venus. That's what happened to the Russian space probes that landed there and did get some pictures. But we're sending a mechanical space probe, first of its kind. I'll let you all know all about it when it happens. Check out the brilliant planet Venus, not far from the gas giant planet Uranus. Uranus is right nearby. Let's zoom in. To all but the largest telescopes, Uranus is a featureless, tiny greenish disk covered with gas clouds, hydrogen, little helium. In larger telescopes over centuries, astronomers have reported a tilted equatorial band. Uranus has been knocked over on its side long ago. It actually rotates backwards because its axis is tipped over more than 100 degrees. You will not see the rings of Uranus in a telescope, not an optical telescope, not from the Earth anyway. So we got a couple of planets right there lining up along special signs of the zodiac, like the V-shaped face of a famous animal with intimidating horns. The Hyades star cluster, bright eye star Aldebaran, 66 and 2/3 light years away. The other stars are far behind it, over 100 light years. So it's an accidental alignment, just like Mizar and Alcor. Do you recognize Taurus, the bull? Need a little help? You can find Taurus very easily by looking for the famous winter hunter, Orion. I'd like to point out that this was a famous female deity until about 10 to 5,000 years ago. And then it gradually turned over to become a male hunter with the armpit star Betelgeuse. Yep, literal translation, Betelgeuse. This can be said 4 ways in Wikipedia. Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse. I forget all of them. There's more than 4, but I like Betelgeuse. Down below the armpit and the knee star Rigel, bright blue, orangey star. You can see star colors with this, the naked eye. Yep, you can tell star temperatures just by eye. About down between them, the belt of Orion points to the bull and past to another star cluster, the Seven Sisters, Pleiades. The logo for what automobile company? Look it up. Right, fact checkers out there. I see 6 stars generally. If you have sharp eyesight, you might see 7 or 8. Some people have seen that many. In binoculars, dozens. In a large telescope, even more. And in long exposure photographs, anybody know what a photograph is anymore? We don't say that. We say image, right? Photograph, picture, drawn, made. No more film. What's film? Film, the thing that gets on your teeth. Nope. We use different technology now, but old or new, you can see the gas that these stars were born from. Beautiful young star cluster, beautiful open cluster, an older one, the Hyades, in the face of the bull. Stars are born from nebulae. I mentioned nebulas or nebulae. Famous one from the winter. I talked about this one before in What's Up in the Winter Months. The Great Nebula of Orion M42 from Messier's catalog, number 42 out of 104 objects. The Horsehead is nearby, right near that star. I'll let you look that up yourself. One of my favorites looks like a rose. Rose by any other name would finish this sentence. Shakespeare never said would be a rose. It's a famous misquote. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Rosette Nebula. In Monoceros, the unicorn. Looks just like a unicorn, right? Not to me. Procyon. Pro before. Scion, the dog. This star rose before the dog star. It's the little dog. Among the stars of Gemini, the twins. with Castor bluish and Pollux yellowish, like our sun seen from a great distance. You'll find something that disfigures the winter hexagon, and that's red planet Mars, the red planet Mars. In a small telescope, even a small telescope shows some dark features. Let's zoom way in. You can barely make them out in a small telescope. Looks like that. You can see a bright polar cap, right? Frozen carbon dioxide with little water. Larger telescopes can see features. Now, amateur astronomers can photograph features on Mars that have a remarkable detail. Technology has improved over the years. And Mars spins so quickly that over the course of a few hours, you'll see new features rotate into view with its 24.5 hour period. You will not see the moons of Mars. They're too faint, too close to the glare from Mars. If you come visit, oh, there goes the satellite. Come visit UACNJ next month or this month. We're open on Saturdays. Ask the astronomers to show you some of the planets. You can find Gemini yourselves visually. All right, so we started in the west. I'm going to work my way on over southwest, past a little animal running away from the hunter. It's got ears, long ones. Lepus. What's lepus? What leaps? Yep, H-A-R-E. Bunny. H-A-R-E spells bunny. We've got one in our backyard. Keeps coming back and has children every year. Going past the winter stars, we're coming up to the stars of spring. I mentioned that the planets line up. Uranus, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn too close to the sun now of all the bright planets we can see. Uranus is not visible to the naked eye unless you have super dark skies and you're young, so that your eye opens up more to see faint objects. And very dark skies to see that planet, naked eye. In Stellarium, we can mark out the path that the planets, the sun, and the moon follow in the sky. It's called the ecliptic. So you go out, you look for a red line, right? Nope, April Fool. But you will see that the planets generally follow this line as they move through the stars, something that stars don't do except over hundreds of thousands of years. Planetides, the Greek word planetides, wanderers, planet. That's where we get our word planet. They wander through the sky, generally this way. And sometimes Mars goes backwards as Earth catches up with it. Earth is closer to the sun, moves faster. That's called retrograde motion. The moon, close to the ecliptic. Why? Why is everything so close to this? Why are these important signs, these constellations, so important? Well, they mark out the path of the Earth's orbit around the sun, but also the fact that the major planets of the solar system are pretty much in a flat plane, like a dinner dish, right? Like peas rolling around the mashed potatoes in the center, the sun. Except for Mercury and Pluto at a very tipped angle, which is a dwarf planet. The moon's a little bit off because its orbit around Earth is tipped by a few degrees to the equator, to our equator. But if you know these zodiac signs, you can find planets easily. Taurus, the bull. The twins are, yep, Gemini. Cancer is the crab. Looks just like a crab, right? Let's try it again. Crab, picture, no picture. Oh, it's unbelievable. It's so much like a crab. If you look in here, you'll see a beautiful open cluster. It's called the beehive. Concealingly, we come to the main sign of spring, and look, we're facing southeast. We're coming towards the signs of early spring. This one will be up even higher towards the south as spring progresses. Now, tonight's not such a good night to view faint objects. Certainly, we were looking at bright objects like bright stars and planets because the moon can get in the way. Let's find out what the phase of the moon is tonight. Looks a lot like Venus. What's it called? When it's between quarter and full. It's not an ape, it's gibbous moon. Let's follow the moon. I'm going to shift my position to south. I'm going to zoom out a bit. I want to see what happened earlier and later in the month. We can play games with time in Stellarium. April 1st today. Happy April Fool's Day, everybody. I've been trying to fool you a little bit here and there. Hope you caught all that. We can change the time, but I'm going to leave it at 8:40 at night, every night on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. What's happening to the moon? The moon is moving through the sky very quickly because it orbits the Earth once in 29 and a half days by the sun. In real life, if you measure by the stars, it's 27 and a third. But by the sun, because the Earth is also moving around the sun, it makes the moon take a little longer to catch up to the same part of the sky. Therefore, 29 and a half days for the measured solar lunar cycle. So let's go backward into March. What was the moon like on March 24th? Can you see the phase? I'm going to zoom in again. Crescent, 25th. The moon moved. It's a thicker crescent. 26, 27. The moon changes its phase depending on how far it is from the sun in the sky. It's a sphere. So we can do the same thing by holding up a tennis ball and shining a light on it. Tennis ball is probably a bad choice, right? You want something smooth like a pickleball, badminton ball, ping pong ball. First quarter phase, 29th, 30, 31, finally tonight. The moon is in the constellation that comes in like spring, comes in like a lion. The main sign of spring, M-A-I-N, M-A-N-E. It's one of my favorite constellations. It looks almost like what it's supposed to be, the mane, the claws, the tail. Leo, the lion. And this star, the lawgiver, bright star Regulus, Alpha Leonis. Alpha Leonis or Regulus. The ancient Arabic astronomers kept astronomy alive through the Dark Ages. They named all of the bright stars, and we use those words today. We use those names like Regulus or Betelgeuse or Rigel or Aldebaran to this very day. We don't say Alpha Orionis, we say Betelgeuse. So the moon is in Leo. Is it really in near those stars? No, it's very far close to us, 250,000 miles away. The star's trillions of miles away. And that's a trillion is 1 followed by 12 zeros. A light year is 6 trillion, and these stars are much further yet. This one is 125 light years. So multiply that by 6 trillion. You can see miles aren't very useful to astronomers. So have we kept up with everything that's in the sky? Certainly not. There's so many more constellations. I like this one, River Snake, Hydra, Corvus and Crater. Crater almost looks like what it's supposed to be. Can you guess? If you were to tip your head to the left, and you might see Crater, the cup. Corvus is more challenging, the crow. Looks just like a crow, right? Coming up, when you see the sheaf of wheat in the hand of Virgo, Spica, you'll know that spring is on the way. If we wait later and later on at night, we can speed up time in Stellarium, so things go faster than normal. See things moving? How about now? You can go very fast right into daylight. Spica, Arcturus. Later on at night, I'm going to stop right there. It is now 23 minus 12 is 11:52 at night. 11:52. I don't know if all of us in the audience can stay up that late, but if you were to stay up that late, you could use the Big Dipper. You could face south, crane your neck backwards till your head hurts, and follow the arc of the Big Dipper to Arcturus, Orange Star, and bright blue star Spica, the spike of wheat in the hand of Virgo, zodiac sign. I'll be talking more about that in next month's What's Up talk. What's up in the May sky? Now, I might have missed some favorite things for some members of the audience here, but favorite constellation or favorite object. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. So yes, I did. I missed the fact that this time of year, let me go back in time to a reasonable hour, about 9 o'clock at night, close just before 9 o'clock, 8:52, 8:53. We're going to look up high in the sky. We can face north to do this if it's more convenient. Anybody dizzy yet? Should I go faster? Oh no! I'm going to look in the vicinity of the Big Dipper by this constellation in Canis Venatici, the hunting dogs, and also this one, the Hare of Bernice, Coma Berenices. These constellations don't look like much, but if you look in this part of the sky, oh, you will find the Minor Planets series. I'll come back to that in a moment. You're going to find some fuzzy objects that look like little ovals. This is what our Milky Way galaxy would look like from a great distance off. Look how far I have to zoom in to see a galaxy. This is one of the best times of the year to see galaxies further away from us, far away from us, with just like the Milky Way, but not interfered with by the light of the Milky Way and the dust of the Milky Way. This time of year, the Milky Way lies low in the sky and it's hard to see. I can turn off the atmospheric interference. Oops, no, it's under here to make the sky very dark the way you would see it on a very dark night at Jenny Jump. And I would note this time of the year that the Milky Way is fairly low in the sky. It crosses the entire sky from one side of the sky to the other in summer. It's really quite spectacular. But it interferes with looking for galaxies in this direction. And the further away you go, 90 degrees from the Milky Way, you will find that it's a great place to see other galaxies. So each time of the year is an optimal time to see different things. Planets generally all year long, but in different parts of the sky. Galaxies in spring, the Milky Way in summer or winter. All right, so that's why we urge you to come back, learn more about what's up in the sky for future installations. Lots of stuff to see. I can come back to this. I'm going to leave it running as I conclude my What's Up talk. We were using a program called Stellarium, and it is free. It runs on just about anything, including mobile devices. And if you don't feel like installing installing anything or even installing an app, you can go to stellarium-web.org and let them do it on their computers. I'm going to leave you with some references. Our website, UACNIDGE, repeat after me, UACNIDGE, UACNIDGE.org for organization. United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey has activities, events, references, pictures of our observatories. You can visit that. If you can't visit us in person, do check out the website, please. We'll refer you to other useful sites, including things like magazines that you can read online or in print. Sky and Telescope and Astronomy are both written at a layperson level, just like me. I'm not a professional scientist. I'm a layperson just like you. I just spent 60 years at it. So with experience, of course, with practice, you tend to learn stuff. And that's how I did it, a step at a time. And that's what you can do. And you can expand your mind the way I did by just appreciating the vastness of the heavens, which doesn't make us insignificant because we've figured it out. We figured out how it works a little. We're learning more and more. You can play with a 3D version of Stellarium. It's called Celestia. Lets you fly into space to visit the planets of our solar system or other star systems, or even leave the galaxy entirely. It's really cool. It's at celestia.space. And it also has a free app, just like Stellarium. Celestia is an app that's free. There are so many, I can't even list them all. So instead, I'm going to review, oh no, not a review. of what's up in the April sky. Early in the month, this week, avoid the full moon, but do look for planets and bright stars. The pink moon for the moss pink flowers. Look for moss pink flowers. You might see some in your area, might see some in state forests like Jenny Jump. Mercury, time to see Mercury. I forgot to look for Mercury in Stellarium. So you know what? I'm going to jump around and go right back and look for Mercury. But when would I do that? Which way do I have to face to see it? Eastern elongation from the sun, which sets in the west, right? I'm not going to look this late at night. I'm going to go backwards. There's the sun. And of course, where's the sunlight? I turned it off. You can do a lot to adjust the sky. Can you see Mercury in the daytime? Yes, you can if you know where to look with a telescope. But for us who have no experience doing that, we wait till the sun is pretty low. And I want to find, with my magnifying glass, Mercury. Stellarium will actually point it out for you. Should we make it darker? Let's wait till it gets darker. The sun sets by the trees. Mercury sets into the trees sometimes. There it is. See it? Let's zoom in. What phase is Mercury? Just like Venus. Can you see features on Mercury in a telescope? Barely. Our ancestors about 100 years ago did see the Caloris Basin. They drew it as a circle, and they called it something else. But they didn't know what they were looking at. They didn't realize they were looking at a world that looks like the moon, covered in craters. Mercury. Try to find it. It's a challenge. If you want to see all the planets, all the major planets of our solar system, how many? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. My very educated mother just served us Necco wafers for older members of the audience who know what those are. Forget about the eclipse. Look for the meteor shower at the end of the month when the moon is close to new. Great time. Actually, that's a very cooperative of the moon to let us see meteors. You have a better chance to do that. Check out Moon Giant. They will summarize the main phases of the moon for you. First quarter, if you have a telescope, even a small one, look for craters and shadows during the first quarter phase. It's up when we're still up at night before bed. If you forget everything else I've ever told you in any of my talks, this one's easy to remember. Space.com. Very good compendium for news, events, but I prefer UACNIG, which is more fun to say. Space.com. And finally, some shameless self-promotion. I have a book that lets you interactively play with planets using your fingers, or a joystick, or a mouse, any pointing device at all. You can do it on a laptop, you can do it on a desktop, you can do it on a tablet, on a phone, on anything. And more recently, I finished my Mars at Your Fingertips virtual reality world that is high resolution. The free version is HD, the full version is cheap and 4K video. It includes 28 landing and crash sites and major features like the giant volcano Olympus Mons, all narrated with short, snappy videos that are designed for people with short attention spans like myself and Gen Z, and narrated by my wife, Jen, who I've never paid once. Shameless, so we'll have to work something out. Mars at yourfingertips.com, astronomyinmotion.com if you want to play with free virtual reality planets and objects. And you can reach me at lonnybuinis@gmail.com. Check out my websites. When you come to visit Jenny Jump, and I hope you will. Hope you'll come over the year. I'm going to be there every first Saturday, but we have other presentations every Saturday. Then we will show you this image where you can find us everywhere: Instagram, Discord, Patreon, YouTube, the website, UACNIG, and Facebook. With that, I want to thank you for being such a good audience. Good night, everybody. I'm sticking around for questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Lonnie, for a great presentation. Thank you for everyone who has joined us online. Like I said, unfortunately, we did have to move to an online only format, despite it supposing to be the first time back we at on site for the 2023 season. So, with that in mind, we are having a question and answer session now. And the first comment that I saw that actually gave me a chuckle was the fact that the Moon Giant logo kind of looks like the little Android logo bot swallowed the moon.
Let me see. Is that right? Let's see. Go backwards.
Yeah, anyone who has seen the
Oh
Android
yeah,
logo kind of knows what I'm talking about.
yeah. Well, that's a good observation. I didn't even realize that. You can look at something for days or weeks and never see something until somebody else points it out. It took me about a whole few months to figure out everything behind Douglas Adams' sentence in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But every time he asked for something simple from the Nutramatic machine, invariably it would deliver a cupful of a liquid that was almost, but not quite, entirely unlike tea. So he asked for tea and he got something that was almost, but entirely unlike tea. To get the full impact of all those adjectives, I had to take a few months.
It's sad, but like I feel all of us have had a situation where like that where it's like I would say it's tea, but it's not tea.
Exactly.
Anyhow, another great question we had was they thought the term the dark side of the moon was because communications went dark as the Apollo project was on that side of the moon.
Oh, that's a cogent, another big word, ubiquitous and cogent observation. Very good. Whoever said that, that makes a lot of sense, and that would make sense from an engineering, a space engineering standpoint. Yeah, that's true. And in fact, the other side of the moon is a perfect place to put a radio observatory with radio telescopes because the Earth is radio noisy. We're broadcasting all the time. It interferes with radio observations that use radio waves. Good point.
All right. So the next question is actually, Lonnie, what about the eclipse that's in the US during October of this year? I believe there's one going another one this year going across Texas
Uh,
again.
no, no. Well, okay. I don't know about that one. I'm looking forward to the big one next year. But October,
Yes, and that's in April.
yeah, I will talk more about that in What's Up in the October Sky, if you can wait that long.
Someone got impatient.
Check this out. I caught the International Space Station passing over, and evidently this is at about 9 o'clock, a little bit after 9 o'clock tonight. Unfortunately, with the bad weather, it's not good to see it, but it will be doing this more often.
Nice. All right. So the next question is actually a statement, and it's actually by me. Lonnie, you should wear the binoculars Jen gave you with a lab coat and come to the last presentation of the year when we dress up for Halloween as a mad scientist.
I'll do that. Thank you. That's a great suggestion.
But yeah, open invitation, like I said, the last on site presentation in October is usually around Halloween time. We like to dress up, have a little fun, and everyone's welcome to join us for that. So, next question is what is the astronomical object you dislike the most?
My least favorite astronomical object. Wow, I'll have to think about that one. What do I find irritating? Let's see. Geez, I like them all. Astronomical objects. So, are we limited to the solar system? It could be anywhere.
They just said astronomical object, so I'm guessing like if it's in space, it's fair game. I
There's a
mean,
there's a Galaxy M64 that is tipped at our angle, the way we see it in space. It's tipped at an angle like the Milky Way is very thin. All galaxies are. So we see them in different angles. This one's tipped and it has a dark lane of dust on this side. So it looks like a black eye, and it's called the Black Eye Galaxy. But I happen to like that one. I think some people might not like having a black eye. So that's a possibility. You know what? I'm going to think about the answer to your question, and I'll have that ready for next time because for the life of me, I can't come up with a least favorite object right now.
I know for a lot of astrophotographers, it happens to be a lot of the satellites that move overhead,
Yeah.
just because they do occasionally interfere with what they're photographing that night.
You
Other
know,
people enjoy them because they make a more interesting photograph.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it might be a,
Everyone's gonna have the different one.
it might be the entire collection of Starlink satellites that many people don't like for that reason. Yeah, right, Kim.
Yeah, I believe I've been told a number of times the moon is actually a least favorite object for some people, just because they're
Well,
looking to image those deep space objects, and the moon is a very bright object and can make it seem quite like it's daylight outside sometimes.
actually, Kim, I just remembered I did a recent new presentation, What Bothers Me, about all the things in astronomy that bother me. And the very last one is my least favorite thing. It's not an astronomical object, but it interferes with all of them, and it's clouds. Clouds, darn it. Hate those clouds.
Uh, I definitely feel that one. I The annoyance today was the clouds with the addition of the lightning and sky electricity is generally something to be disliked. All right. A great question from one of our YouTube viewers is Pluto a planet again?
Well, that's a good question. Pluto was always a planet, but it was reclassified as a different kind of planet. From 1930, its discovery, until 2006, was it? Approximately the early 2000s, it was one of the major planets, but it's been reclassified, not declassified, but reclassified as the brightest and first discovered of the dwarf planets. So, in a way, that elevates it amongst the dwarf planets. It was the first found because it's brighter than the others, but it belongs to a different class, way out in the Kuiper Belt, beyond coming in before the orbit of Neptune, which is unusual. But most of these objects are beyond Neptune, and they are small. They have generally not perfectly circular orbits, a lot of them. They're kind of squashed. Pluto's orbit brings it within the orbit of Neptune over about a 10-year period. And it did that until about 1989 or 1999 or thereabouts. So now it's further than Neptune. But the question, the there was a push on to reclassify it as a major planet for historical reasons. I do not think that will ever be successful, but we do recognize it as an important object because it brought into existence, or it brought us to realize that a whole new class of planets exists. And in fact, a lot of those Kuiper Belt objects that are far away from Neptune tend to line up in a certain way that suggests that there may be a massive object out in the outer solar system, either another large planet like Neptune or a mini black hole. So they're still looking for it.
Yeah, I believe that question is actually by a little bit of that April Fools, where someone decided to spread on the internet that they were going to reclassify it as a major planet. But like you said, um, there has been no official stance on doing that as of current knowledge.
Right. I did hear that there was a proposal, but it wasn't taken seriously by the International Astronomical Union, IAU.
All right. So the next question actually, uh, you had showed us the beehive, uh, and they said space bees. Wait a minute. Have we actually taken bees to space?
Oh, you
And
know what?
I actually know this answer.
Yeah, I think you did. Kim, take it away.
Yes, so there have been multiple science experiments where they have, in fact, taken bees to space. I have not read up on it, but I did actually do a brief Google search and found an article that I will likely be reading later. And there have been well over 1,000 bees in space. So, fun facts, lots
They,
of bees in
they
space.
may be constructing some unusual structures with the lack of gravity.
Yeah, I believe they also did that with spiders, where they took them into space, and the web formation of spiders in space was studied.
Mhm.
All right. So next question has to do with, you were spinning stellarium around there, and what would happen if the world just suddenly spun around like that?
If the world,
So,
what, sped up or,
so you just randomly just took the world and went wee.
whee!
What would happen if the world
Oh,
suddenly did that?
that wouldn't be too much fun, I don't think. Gravity tends to hold us pretty well, but if you were to speed up the rotation of Earth, you could decrease the force of gravity by a counterforce, centripetal acceleration, sometimes called centrifugal force. So someone wrote a science fiction story about that, Hal Clement, a mission of gravity, in which the astronauts go to a world where the gravity is 3 times that of the Earth. It's crushing. But at the equator, because oh no, I'm sorry, it's much higher than that. It's like 20 gravities. But at the equator, it's only 3, so the astronauts can survive for a time because it's spinning so fast that it relieves some of the pressure of gravity. And the creatures who grow up on this planet are flat, like trilobites. So when one of them gets picked up by an astronaut, suddenly it's at a height it can't believe it's feet off the ground. It feels like hundreds of miles, and it gets dizzy. Very cool story. A mission of gravity.
All right. Jan, it looks like Jan sold you out and said you don't need a costume to be a mad scientist.
Uh-oh. I guess not.
Perhaps talks about that remuneration for being the narrator have to come sooner rather than later if she's selling you out already.
Yep.
All right. And let's see, last question I'm seeing here, and I want to put a last call out for any other questions that people might have tonight. Is not a question, but a statement where their least favorite object is M40, which, as it turns out, is a double star and shouldn't really be in the Messier catalog.
Oh, M40. Where is that? Can we find it? Let's see. Let's do a search. M40. I just type that in. I hit the magnifying glass, and it goes right there. Wow, you're right. Now, why did Messier think that that was a fuzzy object? Well, look, we're all human. Oh, by the way, everybody, astronomers make mistakes, just like the rest of us. Yep, there are some famous mistakes. I talk about those in my book, Space History Mysteries Solved. Some famous mistakes like the canals of Mars and the missed rotation of the planet Mercury. And those are the 2 chapters that you can play with 3D objects. Another shameless self-promotion. When will it ever end?
Uh, Probably no time soon, as we also shamelessly self promote. Just while I'm giving a couple extra minutes for anyone else to add those extra questions, um, like Lonnie said, do check us out on our website, uacnj.org. It has a list of our member clubs because we are actually a club formed up of other clubs. It has a list of all our telescopes that we have, as well as pictures of what type of instrumentation we have there. It has resources on what things you might be able to do with kids. Also, check out Jenny Jup's State Forest website. It's a great place. You can go camping there for the weekend. And on Saturday, like I said, April through October, on that night, before bed, you roll into that camp bedroll. you can come and have a presentation about astronomy. Uh, you can check us out on our socials, our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We often post, like I said, on our website and Facebook when we have special events or when circumstances occur, like tonight, where we do have to uh, go to an online only mode, or if we have an extra event coming up. Speaking of extra events, we're actually going to be at NEAF, the Northeast Astronomy Forum. Uh, we'll have a booth there along with a number of our member clubs. And feel free feel free to come check us out at our booth. Take some pictures, look at stuff we've brought there, and we'd love to see you guys. And yes, Chris is owning up to his famous mistake, like typing comments in the wrong account. He does help me moderate online content when, unfortunately, my attention might be diverted elsewhere. So sometimes that happens. So it does look like we are at the end of questions we have had tonight. Like I said, do come, do check us out on our Facebook, and we'll see you next Saturday, and that's April 8th.